Hey, Baruch, and hey, everybody. 10th episode. Could you imagine?
It's pretty big.
I
Hey,
know, right?
Jeremy. How you doing? Hey, everybody in the audience watching.
Just
How's
so
it going?
exciting. Thank God. Thank God. Just a quick note, everybody, just for you to know. Um, this week is the episode 10. It's our 10th episode. I just want to let you know that next week we will not have a live show. We also will not have a podcast released on the Wednesday mornings. And we're not going to have a clubhouse on Thursday because it's a Jewish holiday. So Baruch and I are going to be off for that day. However, we will have a pre-recorded surprise on the Wednesday evening. We're going to be releasing something, and it's going to be really exciting. So just to keep you on edge, we're not going to like just drop you, but we will still have something for you next week that's just going to go automatically. So you could feel free to also still use the comments and still interact. But we will get back to you the following day, and we're going to interact again in the comments. And so we still encourage you to show up, and we're going to have something really, really cool for you guys. Hint, there's some behind the scenes. So you want to show up, okay? But other than that, Baruch, like, 10th episode. This is, I know it's a two-part, so we're kind of going to be leaving people in the middle of a two-part.
Yep. I was just gonna say, Jeremy. Guys, don't worry. We're gonna leave you hanging. We're gonna hit you with something really strong and powerful, and then we're gonna leave you for a week, and you're gonna have to come back.
Well,
There is
think about it.
that surprise, that special thing, which is really awesome. That I'm excited to see because I know what the behind the scenes is, but I just don't know what it is. But anyway, we're 2.5 minutes in. Let's get to the meat and
Yes,
potatoes here. This
that's
is
it.
a live episode, a real live, not a pre-recorded live. This is and there
Yes,
he
yes,
is. Hello, Abram.
Hi, thank you for having me. So good to be
yes.
with you, Jeremy and Baruch. It's so exciting to be able to talk to you about one of my purposes and passions.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah.
And we're really excited. And we're going to go through the bio now. And then I have a proposal to make. And as everybody here who watches this knows, when I say something on a live episode that Jeremy has no clue what I'm talking about, it ends up with a lot of work for him, which he appreciates but doesn't appreciate at the same time. But in the meantime, let's get straight into it. So, Abram Siegel Rivers is the founder of the One Day Movement, a nonprofit for creatives and community leaders. One Day provides a platform that connects, inspires, and uplifts communities around the world through music, art, stories, and events. In fall 2022, Siegel Rivers will be launching the first one-day global holiday event with the One Day Movement's first collaborative book, Together We Rise, which will spotlight the stories, music, and art of creative community and spiritual leaders from around the globe. Today he is teaching and training creative leadership, empowering creative leaders to make an impact through creative outlets. Through his coaching and consulting, he supports creators and brands in unpacking their dreams and visions in a way that makes it real for them. That is pretty flippin' awesome, if I may say so myself.
Oh yeah.
I'm really excited because there's a lot in there that I didn't even know from our first conversation. But before we dive into all the other stuff and the questions we got for you, why don't you start off by telling us and telling our audience more about who you are and what you're all about, and then we can get to the rest of the show.
I always love that question. Who are you? And it's like there's a surface answer to that, and then there's something very very that really much applies to today's topic. Is who I am is the world experienced by love, laughter, and wonder. And
Wow.
And I could tell you all the things I've done, and all the things but it's like I've been a musician most of my life, and in my journey, my discovery of myself has been unfolding. I think a lot of us have this story that we come into the world with an idea, a way we think we are, and the way we think the world is, and this a frame and a view. And my view was I'm not enough. Do I fit in? Do I belong? I was always different growing up, and I had all these stories about that. My mom's half black, half Italian. My father's Jewish. I got overweight between 4th and 5th grade, and I started getting bullied, and I made it all mean I'm different, and I have to try to fit in and try to belong. And from that arc, or part of my life, it brought me a lot of suffering. But what it brought me at the same time was my really discovering my purpose. and unpacking and just getting rid of all the stories about who I thought I was and, you know, what I thought the world is. You know, I'll use this example when we've talked the last couple weeks. You know, I grew up like looking at the world in myself through this keyhole, and it's like, here I am, here's the world. And it's like, we all have these layers and these, you know, these stories that we don't even realize. I didn't realize it. They're so limiting and disempowering. But who I am is, you know, somebody who's just loves to connect people and to really bring people to their own experience of the divine expression in the universe in themselves.
Wow.
Love it.
I told you guys this was going to be an impactful, power punching episode. That right there is, it's heavy in a lighthearted way, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's so much there. You know, talking about stories and unpacking it. It's something, you know, who we are is something that we're constantly discovering. You know, that's what I'm taking away from that is the second we define ourselves as I am this, I am that, that's when we're kind of heading to trouble. Because what happens if something comes up when we're not that? Then our entire identity is
right.
Crashed.
Exactly. And on that, you know, that's kind of always a conversation when we say who we are. You know, it's like, I have a friend who has a saying: we have a tongue in our mouth and a tongue in our shoes. And the only difference is a tongue in our shoes doesn't lie. And, you know, when a lot of time we'll like we'll say things, we'll assert things, or we'll declare things, and say it with our mouth, but our body doesn't follow. And I think that's where most of the suffering in our own lives comes from, that disconnect from who we say we are and who we're actually being experientially and day to day and moment to moment.
I love that. And that's so true. I mean, there's also this certain like identity that we have. And I think why we call it that pursuit of happiness or that journey or that discovery. And why, like, I remember as a kid asking my teachers, like, why is it that we have to discover our purpose and our meaning? Like, why can't we just get it? Like let's say whatever, the universe, God, whoever it is, you know, give us kind of like, hey, this is what you're meant to do, and then just go and do it, right? Why is there this sort of like period in time that we have to kind of discover? And it took me a very long time to get that answer. And today when I'm helping, you know, my clients, and when I'm helping the people that I'm helping, I tell them, you know, the only, like, yes, I have education, and yes, I have experience, and yes, I have all these accolades to fall back on, but the real place where it's all coming from are these challenges or these hardships that I had to navigate through and to find myself. And that's how I discovered that journey. So that question that you're saying, like, who am I, kind of thing, right? We said this a few weeks ago back with Jen, you know, I am just who I am, and that kind of thing. And it just, this who am I is really the question before the question. Baruch mentions in the podcast a few times, the start with why from Simon Sinek. I think there's a level before the start with why. First, find out who are you. Right. You know, what are you? How are you? Where are you? Like all these different things. And then you get to kind of like, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? You know? And that's what I heard from your share, is that you had your journey to discover first who you are and like where you're coming from. And then the perfect way to kind of segue into our conversation about this week's topic is whether we have a singular or diversified purpose. You know, is it one purpose? Is it multiple purposes? Is it multi-layered? Like, what is it? You know, so that's perfect segue right into it. So I'll let you hop on to start talking about that if you want.
It's a beautiful inquiry, and I think I would say simply they're both true. And you know what I mean by that, you know, purpose is, you know, I know part of the topic is passion, which I'll get more into later, but just the difference. I just want to distinguish between passion and purpose. You know, I see passion as a way of being. You know, we do lots of things, and sometimes passion serves us, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we're doing the dishes and I don't need to be passionate when I'm doing the dishes. I mean,
Right.
nothing wrong with that. But, passion is a way to approach, something that enlivens us or inspires us or whatever, something that allows that gives us, makes us feel good in our bodies that we're doing something that brings a good experience to us or others. But purpose, it's in that same frame of what you're talking about. Who am I?
Right.
There's lots of levels of purpose. And I mean, I've discovered this for myself and I'm discovering it every day for myself. And I would distinguish purpose as more of an unfolding experience of the present moment. And, the levels of purpose, are very much, enlivened and kept alive in conversation with ourself. And,
Right.
It's very much something that, in the inquiry of who am I, that's like, I would say underneath, and I would say this is something that there's something core to all humans. If you just peel back the onion of all their thoughts, all their feelings, all the things that happen to them, their circumstances, their fears, eventually I think whenever we were born, there are things that innately inspire us, like to the core, and I would say that that's more of like a soul purpose, and it's like, it might be a skill we're good at, but it might be, but it not necessarily, but I say a purpose comes from a deeper knowing right now, and and our purpose can be applied differently in different situations.
Right.
If I'm doing my taxes, my purpose isn't necessarily the same as when I'm at my guitar, or when I'm just speaking with you, or when I'm connecting with somebody else. And I think purpose, there are values and principles innate, and those are in the discovery of who we are. We see what we resonate with. And ultimately, I find purpose, a deeper sense of purpose in at a spiritual level, comes from really, I would say, distinguishing fulfillment. And I would say where fulfillment comes from is discovering what we uniquely have that can empower or lift up others, that can contribute to others.
Wow.
And it's like, and it's finding ourselves on the human level of, just like every spiritual teaching and practice has some version of the golden rule. And, like having, and I believe at that level of every spiritual practice, love thy neighbor as thyself, that is where this comes from, is when we're loving the neighbor as ourselves, we're loving and listening them as extraordinary, as having something unique, having something innately that we don't have. And actually, when we love our neighbor, we're actually, in fact, loving ourselves, and living in our purpose is actually an is an honoring of our self-expression in others.
Wow.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Okay. Let me process that for 2 minutes. Okay. So here's the question then, because there was a whole lot there. And I know that there's a section in there that you just said that we're going to be clipping. I know that for a fact, because that was that. If there's one line everybody gets out of this tonight, it was that one line about, I can't even repeat it because I'm still processing it. But how does one then go about identifying? And this might be the next question, or I might be skipping ahead, Jeremy. So cut me off if there's something else on this. How does one go about finding and identifying that purpose? Like Tracy, she's saying that there's a lot to do, there's so much that can be done. How do we just focus on just one thing? How do we prevent ourselves? So, but my question is more of, well, then how do we look at our experiences? How do we look at what we've gone through, who we've become, what we've learned, and how do we turn that into our purpose? How do we practically identify our 15, 20, 30, 40 years on this earth to find that and to pull that out? Because again, passion is something that we enjoy. Purpose, you said a lot more about there, and about really how it's meant to be used for other people, how our experiences are meant to be used for other people. But how do we identify that and turn it into something actionable?
It's a great question, and I'll try to be as succinct as I can, because there's a core to that. One thing I want to premise that with is, there are levels again of purpose, and I think, and just two sides of that. Is on one hand, it's like what happens to us, our circumstances, and it's like, take any leader or any person, any artist, any creator, any, maybe they were in a situation. It's like the things that happen to us, like the mountains and valleys of life. On the other side of the valleys we climb out of, we find something again that lifts us up in a way we'd never expected. And the valleys we overcame and the mountains we climb can actually be a bridge over somebody else's valley. And that can be a purpose. It's like you can see, it's just like look at, like, say if you went through a deep trauma, whether it was a death in the family, any trauma, really trauma or trial or tribulation, usually that is the turning point. On the other side of trauma lies wisdom. And we find something that we actually have through our experience that can help somebody else that's to not deal with the suffering that we had to deal with. So a lot of people find their purpose through that. And, and I think looking at your life and where you feel suffering is an opportunity, but also looking at your life in where you find peace and where you find fulfillment. And maybe it's a song that brings it up. Maybe it's a poem, but usually it's somebody else's expression, art, or just authentic sharing that makes you feel something, that something new is possible in the world. And it's something resonates. It's not necessarily a shared value. It's a resonant value. Someone speaks about their experience, their struggle, and you feel something. Like I felt that too, or I feel that too. And you kind of connect to that, and you kind of express and identify and connect through community, through overcoming that trial or that trauma. And on the other hand, there is what is a declared purpose, which is nothing to do with our circumstances. And is actually a commitment right here, right now, with our word and our integrity, and so it's the difference between an assertion, which is the past, and a declaration, which is created in the future today. It's like it's creating a future to live into. And if I'm committed to anything, but if I'm committed to love, to peace, to abundance, to connection, to freedom, I say that to myself, and I say that to others. All the things that are not that will then present themselves. Right. And the thing is, it is a live and an unfolding experience. Today, my purpose might be freedom, and then tomorrow, my purpose might be structure. And it's not to say either or right or wrong or good or bad. It's literally a right now. Who am I committed to being, not with who I showed up as and just throw me into the world and this is who the world said I was. It's who do I declare myself to be, and having the inquiry in conversation of keeping that alive regardless of circumstances. Because the most important time is to be courageous is when you're afraid. The most important time to be strong is when you feel weak. And the most important time is when to love is when you're afraid, and when you're angry. And it's a lot easy. It's so easy. I could tell you how easy it is doing it downhill. I'm riding my bike downhill. It's like, yeah, I'm loving, I'm happy, I'm courageous. But it's when you hit the walls is when it counts and when it's important. And our purpose is declared even when reality says the opposite.
Wow.
That is so, I just want to highlight something, and then I want to go back again also to Tracy's comment as well. But I want to highlight Rick's comment about, our gifts, our talents, our skills, all these different elements that we have. And I guess it's through that, that experience, whether it's shared, whether it's something that I went through myself, some kind of connection. Because I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's through those experiences that I'm going through that I'm finding my purpose or my meaning within that time, whenever that thing is, not saying that it's not necessarily going to change over time, not necessarily that there's going to be some kind of layer to it. It doesn't matter. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, I believe that our talents and our gifts come out with that challenge. So let me just dramatize a little bit your example, where you said, I'm going down that hill pretty quickly. I fall off my bike, hopefully, well, we're praying that it's not a tragic, not a serious little accident there, whatever. But let's say the person who's on that bike ends up, in the hospital for a little bit, broke a bone or something. It's traumatic. It's pretty catastrophic. But then that person now has a choice, has path A or path B. He gets to choose whether they want to victimize themselves, say, oh, that stupid, city did not fill in the potholes or whatever it was, whatever made him flip over. Or they could learn a lesson and they could find, something that could actually benefit a third person, another person. Find something meaningful out of it, right? So I often say it's kind of sad that it's usually through these traumas or these challenges or these hardships that we sometimes discover the most deepest of purposes and deepest of things. And, life is just that it's this constant, different things happen in our life. So it's really kind of bringing to that question, even though we have this finding the meaning and purpose through those experiences, but do those purposes change necessarily? Like, you started touching upon it, but I want you to a little bit expand on it. And I want you to also go back to I want you to combine Tracy's and Rick's sort of comments. Because I mean, there's a lot of connection there.
Yeah, well, I'll make it personal for me, and it's just because in my career change and my did my passions change or did I grow? And I just say, like, just imagine just being born and asking God, like, so what's my purpose? And it's like, what's my deepest purpose? And even if God told us our deepest purpose, I don't know if we'd be ready to hear it or we'd even understand it. And I feel like I think our purposes change in that which the horizon has too. I think purpose is climbing to the top of the mountain and then climbing and realizing there's actually another mountain there too. There's actually no top of the mountain. But just very personally for me, it's like, I've been a musician, most of my adult life. I went to school in Whittier, California, and I went to Whittier College and I studied music, and I found a purpose and a passion in performing. And just even rewind just a little bit, music found me, as I was sharing earlier about myself and feeling like I didn't fit in, music became an outlet for me. And I discovered, I never wasn't born like, I want to play music. It was something I discovered. It's like, oh, this feels good. And then I realized, like, oh, this makes other people feel good. This makes other people notice me. It makes, girls look at me. It makes guys want to talk to me. And it's like, so it's like this, like, oh, there's something here. So like, and it was like something that made me feel good. And it was something that allowed me to impact others and make them feel good. And, I created a whole music career out of that because it was a passion. I mean, it still is a passion, but it was something I followed like with my heart and soul, like it was my purpose, because it was like I was feeding on the unknown. And it's like you're saying, and this is the beauty of passion, is it allows us to listen to our experiences and our obstacles as opportunities. And some of the biggest lessons of my life I've learned on a broken down school bus in the middle of, several, there's two West Coast tours. We had a school bus that exploded in Portland and we're stranded and popped 3 tires in a week after that. And there was elements and I have so many stories of, but I learned a lot of my just in pursuing that without really a reason or other than the feeling and just the experience of freedom and getting to express that and to give that to others. It was something that filled me up. And but as I was on that path, like it was a gift that I have and I had, but for me it was more of, there was a deeper purpose that I wasn't aware of, that I wasn't necessarily in tune with all the time. It felt right when it was right, but other times it was like, something's not there. But it was a not knowing of, why, or even who I am, because this is how the world showed up. I got picked on and made fun of, and I started playing music, and then it was like that was surviving into this. Like, oh, people like me. This is how my identity became, I'm a cool musician, a mysterious musician, and look at me and look how great I can play, and it's like, but it was about others, but it was also like it was about me. Because it was the only level of my identity that I could even see at the time. Because again, I was still looking at the world through my experience of my stories and what happened to me. And but it was like a broken clock. It worked when it worked, and it didn't work when it didn't work. And it was like, what's missed? Something's off. I couldn't even articulate it. And it was after shelving, after touring for over 10 years, it was just putting it on a shelf and asking these questions and these inquiries is, who am I? Why am I? Why bother? Why bother make music? This has got to be about something bigger than just surviving. And that's where I would say the core is this based, is my purpose based on survival, or is it based on thriving and bringing freedom and love and self-expression to all?
Wow. And one of the things I want to kind of touch upon over there from what you said is, again, we can't come out saying, okay, God, I'm here. What's my purpose? It has to be through those lived experiences because, all the three of us here, we work with leadership and we work in some form of coaching or consulting capacity. I think the number one rule that we all know, and anybody who's in coaching, consulting, and even education, we know that we can't tell our clients what to do. They have to come to the conclusion on their own, right? Because they have to have buy-in. Sure, I can solve all my clients' problems from the very beginning by telling them what to do, but it's a lot more effective if I lead them in that direction through just, one of our previous guests, Chelsea, she posted on LinkedIn today about how, why am I blinking now? Gosh. She asked clarifying questions in her coaching, right? And that's the thing, is we have to ask questions to get somebody to the conclusion that they need to get to. It's the same thing here. God can't just say, hey, here's your purpose. Like, here's a label that comes with, here's the guidebook. You have to live through certain experiences because that's our buy-in. Through going through those experiences, positive and negative, those traumatic experiences as well as those, exhilarating experiences, we come to have buy-in into our purpose and then finding a way of turning that into something, like you said, we experience what we experience so that we can help others. But we have to look at those experiences, seeing what is happening to me. Why is this happening to me? Who else is this happening to? Who can I help? And who can I impact with this? I remember when my son was born, it was a home birth. Everything was fine. 24 hours later, he was in the NICU because through complete divine providence, we caught something. Actually, our midwife caught something in the video that we didn't even realize, and his heart rate was too low. So we brought him into the NICU, and he was fine, except for the fact that he had to be there for 5 days for protocols for whatever reasons. But out of that, through what we went through as first-time parents, going through the stress of it, do we stay in the hospital, do we go home, and all the decisions that we made, we were adamant that coming out of it, aside from being able to bring our son home, we wanted something positive to happen, and we wanted to be able to help others. Sure enough, a couple years later, one of my friends went through a very similar experience where they had a child that was born, and within a certain period of time, that child ended up in the hospital with some very serious procedures that they had to go through. But because I had gone through that experience and I was committed to remembering that and remembering the lessons, I was then able to share that with them, and it helped them. And one other thing I want to bring up, because it came up on my Facebook memories today. I have a quote here from Richard Branson. If someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, say yes. Then learn how to do it later. And that's essentially what God is doing with us. He's God, or the universe, or the force, or whatever your higher power is. That's what they're doing. They're saying, here's an amazing opportunity. It might not look so good, and you're going to go through hell and back to figure this out, to get through it. But take it, go through it, and then learn from it. Figure out how to turn that into something that there's a lesson that you can then apply. And that is how we have to look at our lives. And the funny thing is we can only look at our lives like that. We can't look at somebody else and say, oh, well, you have to learn a lesson from it, so go figure it out. But we learn our lessons, and then we use that for, to help other people, like you said.
Yes. I everything you said, I definitely, the whole world of that, I agree. And it's, like with coaching or even parenting, I imagine,
Yeah.
I'm not a father, but I can only imagine in the same way, as soon as you tell people what to do, it's actually probably less likely it will happen,
Mm-hmm.
in a certain regard, and that's where, so there's a lot, everything you're talking about is like, it's like on the court of our lives is where life happens. It's not
Yeah.
in somebody, it's
Wow.
like, this is like, or there's a lot of platitudes and generalities about like, what's the habits, like 10 things to do to lose weight, or, and it's like, there's a place for habits and routines. And something I'll distinguish is because I do a lot of ontological development and training, and I've done it, and I've also shared it and done a lot. I do my own creative leadership training, but one of the ontology practices that I've gotten a lot from is, it's called tribal leadership, and there's a distinction in tribal leadership. It's a model of learning, and there's like 3 levels of learning, and a lot of the time we'll focus on the top level, but I'll try to share this like in a simple way. So like if Mozart asked somebody, how do I write an amazing song, or how do I write a cool song, or whatever, Mozart. So first, like, we look at the product, and we ask, how do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And Mozart, I can't speak for Mozart, but I don't think he would say like, oh, all you got to do is follow symphonies for dummies, and you do these tasks and you're there. It's
Right.
There are 2 levels before you even get to a habit and a practice of sitting at the piano, or sitting on a guitar, or picking up the clarinet, or whatever.
Right.
And the first level is, it starts with an inquiry. Inquiry of, like, if and I imagine if I was Mozart, it's like, what can I do today to bring others closer to the experience of the oneness that they are with all that is. That might be an inquiry that Mozart would have. And if I was Mozart, that's my inquiry. And from an inquiry, you discover and you listen for your principles, your values. Like, what it's like, oh, I see in this I value freedom, I see in this I value peace, I see in this I value joy or self-expression, or just core values. And that's like the first level of where you would begin to look at, who am I and why am I, and it's in that inquiry that, so in being grounded in that, that's the next level of learning, which is it's coaching, but it's structures. It could be literally going to get a coach. It could be signing up for a class. If I want to learn video editing, I could sign up for a video editing. Google, and you'll find probably no short of 1,000 different courses that are amazing. Tell you exactly what you need to know. But but in essence, whether it's an exterior or external coach, or an internal coach of just a structure. It could be a workout plan. It could be a diet plan that is but it's grounded in your why and your who. That's what you can get. So the second level is coaching, which is a structure. And then from there is the third level, which is the surface, which I was talking about. It's a practice. It is a habit and a routine. And then that's when you're sitting at 3 times a week, I'm going to be playing the piano and writing a song. Rain or shine, I'm writing a song, good or bad. Rain or shine, I am, writing that movie script, or whatever. And so like, that's something that I see, and I'm distinguishing for myself, is we're so quick to jump to the habits. And how do I do that? That we don't foundation the how from the who, the why, the what. And then we can actually do the how is the easy part once we've done all the other work. Like when we actually living in the inquiry every day of who do I have to be to plant these seeds of joy today?
Wow.
Right. I definitely want to hop on this one, because what you're bringing up right now, this the who, the how, and all these things, this is so important, because now, especially now with the pandemic and everything, all of a sudden so many coaches and consultants came out, and everybody, the coaching became a big thing all of a sudden.
Right.
And I often hear other sort of coaches or consultants or whatever they call themselves, the good coaches and the good consultants are the ones who've accomplished and who've done and who've and they have the experience behind them, and basically singing their accolades and selling the white hairs, as I call it. That's effectively what they're trying to do. And a lot of people buy into this. It's like, hey, I made $1 million. Let me show you how to make $1 million. What I have a problem with it, and I'm going to be very controversial here right now, but this is from experience as well. And I've spoken to other, bigger people, let's say, who agreed, and this is how they became quote unquote big. But let me just share with you a very quick story. I have zero experience in the music industry. Absolute zero. Big fat zero. For the heck of me, I cannot pick up a instrument and play. It's gonna be the worst day ever if I do that. It's just not gonna work. I have a great ear for music. I know what's good music, but that's about the extent of my music experience. And I could confidently say, I can't say the name of the individual, but that individual that I coached, in a sense, became a celebrity singer. He's very well known in Hollywood. And what business did I have, or what could I have ever done with this guy to help him become a celebrity singer? And he's big, like everybody knows him. So what was it, and really it was that inquiry. I just kept asking him the questions. I kept asking, the right questions, the right guiding questions. And here's where it's really important. Just the other day, I was on a call with a person. His name is Mike Levin. Mike Levin was the president of and the COO of Holiday Inn, I believe it is, the hotel chain. And he said when he started, he had zero experience in the travel industry, in hospitality. He had nothing. And he came in and he's just started working, and he grew the ranks and he became who he became. And today he's a very successful individual. And so the lesson here is that really it's number one, digging deep. So I found certain elements in my own life that I've learned lessons, and I've drawn parallels from those lessons. And that's today what I'm bringing to the table as a coach or as a consultant or whatever you want to call me. And I think that here is the key. When individuals are, like, when somebody's going through a hardship and they ask themselves, why am I going through this hardship? And why is this, I guess this meaning and this purpose? And I think I'm jumping already into the whole passion thing as well, because I want to just circle back to you and ask you, finding like a livelihood out of your passion, well, actually, you know what? Let me before going there, let's go into the find your purpose through your passion. And here's my question to you, right? You talk a lot about passion. I'm passionate about, music, about whatever. Baruch and I today in our podcast, we shared about our passion in the movie industry. Writing about movies, producing movies. I managed to produce a short film, but as passionate as I am for that industry, that's not necessarily what I'm working in. It's not necessarily, I don't like, maybe somewhere down the line, maybe not today. That, I guess, that drives back into that multiple purpose thing or whatever. But my question to you is, do we always have to, is purpose and passion always married to each other? I guess that's really the question. What are your thoughts about that?
Great question. Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, again, kind of adding on what I was saying before is, I would say those are they're two different realms, and they definitely live with each other a lot of the time, or they're in alignment with each other. But I see passion again as a way of being. I could live my passion, or I could or I could live my passion, or I could passion my life. It's like, it's not necessarily, I could be doing anything from going on a walk to running to skiing to snowboarding passionately, or my passion could be skiing, snowboarding, going on walks. Like, it's like, right. And I think there's always, passion and purpose. Passion is we can generate passion, and we can find, I bet you, if finding the flow of something that we love to do and something that's important to us, something, whether it's income or impact, I think our passion, it helps us discover where, like, when we follow passion, we take risks. We go in the face of things that we wouldn't normally do. And I think in that way, passion is a beautiful access to purpose. And, and I think, I could be doing anything, monotonous task or something fun, and do it with or without passion. But I think being on purpose doesn't always mean passion is at the helm. There's a time to be sitting still and to be just in the inquiry of knowing, of not knowing, or of death, or of of all of life and everything in the mystery of the cosmos. And passion is not needed to be in an inquiry, but maybe once we're in the inquiry, that we're presence to our true identity, our authentic self and purpose. And then we open the floodgates. It's like, okay, now I'm going to be like, or passion a lot of time can be where the world gives us a no to what we're committed to, is an opportunity for our passion open. It's like, say I'm committed to peace, or maybe I'll use an example of like what's happening in Ukraine. Like, and I can't speak for Zelensky, but he didn't. I wouldn't say he's a passionate person overtly, but I feel he rose to an occasion of, it's like, where an opposing country is literally taking away their freedom, and now he's a passionate leader. And I don't think it was because he was trying to be passionate. It's like when something is taken away from our core value, sometimes that is actually what brings passion. Like, again, that passion is what brings an access. The way of being a passion is what actually can unlock and invigorize and enliven our purpose.
Wow. So I want to speak to that for a second. But before we do, Jeremy, roll the ticker for Clubhouse, because this is the time to. It's already there. Look at that.
So just a quick second. Let me just take this moment to first of all thank everybody for joining. I even see some new faces over here today. This is incredible. I see Jen, I see Kenny, I see Tracy. The new face, Matty Hech. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, Rick, and that's all I'm seeing right now. But yeah, this is an amazing opportunity. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. And we do have a Clubhouse every Thursday at 7:00, same place, same time, just different platform. But the Clubhouse is meant for you, the audience, to share with us your input. Oh yeah, there's Alex. I see her as well. It's for your input and your feedback, and we love to hear what you have to say about the topics that we talk about today. Happens to be, we're talking about the meaning and the purpose of finding different elements in there, the multi-layers. And Abram was awesome tonight, as usual. You guys should check out his show. We'll be talking about that in a moment. But it's really about finding, does that passion and purpose really tie in? And it's very powerful. So we want to hear what you guys have to say. So please show up tomorrow at our Clubhouse. And Baruch, you were about to ask a question. I hope I didn't derail you.
No, I told you to talk about the Clubhouse, so we got that done. Don't go away, guys, though. I know we're at our 45-minute mark, and that's typically the thing, but we all know we haven't kept the 45 minutes a very long time. So here's my question. Or not question, but it was a point to say. You used the example of washing dishes, right? I personally am not passionate about washing dishes. I really don't like washing dishes, but I am passionate about having, well, not passionate, but I need to have clean dishes to eat off of. Not only that, having clean dishes or having the dishes cleaned and done the next day helps my wife. It takes a huge burden off of her shoulders. So for me to do the dishes, while I am not passionate about doing the dishes, I am passionate about the result that comes from it, which is a happy wife. Happy wife, happy life. So there's a way we can look at it as, well, maybe my passion isn't necessarily in the thing that I'm doing, but does it provide me with a result that I'm passionate about? So that's something else for people to think about. I also want to say that, not to one-up you, Yermi. I mean, one-up is your thing. I've actually produced and directed 2 short films.
Wow.
It was in high school. One was about a secret agent. The other one was about the bee from Honey Nut Cheerios?
Yeah.
Do you know it actually has a name?
No way.
His name is Busby. So we made a whole movie in high school, which to this day has been lost. There's only one person that has a copy, and he disappeared off the face of the earth.
No.
I don't know where he is, but we've been trying to get it. Anyway, so we made 2 movies, and one was about a secret agent, the other one was about Busby, the missing bee from the Honey Nut Cheerios. It was brilliant. Anyway, back on topic. Abram, you started to tell us, or in your bio, we were talking about the fact that you're creating a holiday. Where's my finger? You're creating a holiday. You've got an upcoming collaborative book, and then there's so much more that you're doing. I think, Yermi, that's the direction you were heading anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe, Yermi, you'll repackage the question in a little bit more of a question. But Abram, tell us a little bit more about that, what you got going on there, to kind of wrap us up.
I just want to add one. Yes. I just want to add one more question, because what Baruch is really on to is also a great way to sort of wrap up the show as well. But I want to just have the 2 questions because they're almost the same question. What I heard Baruch say was that sometimes it's the result of this action that I'm doing today, which is, I guess, the passion. Or did I get that correctly? Is that I want to see? I want
the result.
Yeah. Okay. But I want to tag on to that as well. Is that what I heard you saying, Abram? Is that sometimes that passion is also that driving force, if you will, for either for the meaning, or for finding the meaning, or for what I like to call developing that meaning. The meaning is ongoing. It's never stagnant, like what Tracy was saying earlier, that otherwise she'll just be bored. I think meaning is still this kind of like rolling, because like for me, purpose is like the bigger picture, and it's the overall, and there's no one purpose, I guess. But the passion is that ongoing, that burning fire under that flame, if you will. If that makes sense to you. So that if you could tie all that together, and this would be our final question, really, can our purpose? Sorry, wrong one. Can our purpose be our livelihood, or our passion be our livelihood?
Oh, this is a beautiful question, and I love it. It kind of comes full circle for me, because I see, like, passion I feel like maybe the anchor between passion and purpose is, I have the word. It's like the anchor between passion and purpose is our values. And I think and I love your example of the dishes, because it's really, and this is something I'm distinguishing for myself, is between, I don't believe shared values is, I think that there's a lot of people say it's about shared values. And I think that's only a part of the equation. And I think it's resonant values. And I think what you're speaking about, the dishes, and this is where relationships, like, I think Aristotle said there's 3 types of relationships. One's built from pleasure, one's built from utility, and one's built from like merit and virtue. And and I think having relationships from merit and virtue are the relationships that last lifetimes. And I think where that comes from, because people are in different places between passion and purpose, which have nothing to do with having a shared value. But I think that's where and I use the word resonance of values. It's like because resonance is, using the example of music, if I might hit a C note, you might hear a G. It's like you might hear the harmony of it, and it's not necessarily the same note. And just like an example of like that Baruch saying, it's like the dishes. So maybe your value in that moment is your family's well-being and your wife's happiness, and for her maybe it's having a clean, a clean integral home. And it's not the same value, but there's a resonance and a merit and a virtue in it that, because so it's like, and I feel like this is how community works in general, is like when we are sharing authentically, our purpose and our passion, from a place of values, someone might hear the exact same value, but I say more often they hear a resonant value. And and that's where relationship can exist, is when we find and listen for the resonance. When we can meet people that we've never met, or people that people that we know very well, or people we've never met, we can listen for resonant values and come from a place of alignment rather than a place of agreement, right and wrong, good, bad, and it is alignment. It is a space of resonant values that I feel like the most true relationship, the most true purpose and passion is built off of.
Wow. Yeah. So, Abram, how does that all tie into, one what is it? One word movement? One day movement. That's
One
right.
day.
And the book and everything. Could you please share us your passions and how that ties in?
Well, I would love to. Thank you. So I, as I mentioned earlier, as I was introduced earlier, I have an organization called One Day. And as Baruch said it, we connect, inspire, and uplift communities through music, art, stories, and events. And a part of that, is really acknowledging you have a unique gift. You have a unique genius that through your circumstances, through everything that's happened to you, you have something unique and beautiful and powerful that can lift up others. We all have different gifts, we all have different passions, we all have different purposes. But I believe that when we actually identify with who we are and we create our lives in service to our neighbor and thus ourselves and our families, we can create a world greater than we ever imagined. And this is about a new paradigm of what it means to be human. This is about, living in a world where we all intentionally plant seeds of love, laughter, wonder, and beauty, where, and one day is a holiday, and the holiday is really, a reminder that we can be this way every day. And that's why we say one day is today. And, but on our one day holiday is a day where we come together with people from every creed and every color, and acknowledging the humanity and also the divinity in all people, and the possibility in our neighbor, and who we can be for them and who they can be for us. And on one day, Catholics and Protestants come together and break bread. Jews and Palestinians come together to sing each other's songs. Different people from different backgrounds who the world says don't get along, like Pakistanis and Indians, come together to dance. And it's a day that we remember, but we also choose to live into what we can create when we actually are intentional about this moment. The love and laughter and beauty in the world is actually on me right now and right now and right now, and we are living into that. That is what One Day is about. So I want to just invite you to just to go down the list here. I want to invite anyone who has I want to hear if you had one thing to share that you knew would make the difference in somebody else's life. I want to invite you to share on our One Day virtual stage. And Yermi will put a link later, and I'll also put it in the comments. But
I'm going to put your website up here so they could come and explore everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have our virtual stage. We want to invite you to share your gift and your genius, and just share, what trials, traumas, tribulations that you've overcome that has allowed you to discover your authentic purpose and made you willing and able to contribute to something greater than yourself. And on top of that, we are also, as they both mentioned, is we're creating a collaborative book where, where people from all over the world, leaders, are sharing, what they've overcame. I said this before. It's like, if you had one thing to share that you knew would make the difference in somebody else's life, what would it be? And this book is it is a platform for us to rise together, and that's appropriately named Together We Rise. Unleash your gifts and light up the world. I would assert that, when we actually have overcome the scars and the pain and the suffering of our lives, and we see our own power on the other side of the weeds in our garden and the scars in our hearts, we can actually present those as beautiful, you know, in a way that lifts others up. And, you know, your story of triumph is a testament to the human spirit, but it is also something that can lift people up. So on the website, you'll see a place that you can actually set up a call to talk about this. And I really look forward to talking to you, because this is my passion, is giving people a platform to share their gift. And for us, you know, and if everybody in this world, you know, is sharing their gift, that's only one. And I would assert we have more than one gift. But if it's one gift per person, that's about 8 billion gifts. And
Wow.
you know, and that's just the first. And that's just one day. You know, but on top of that, I would love to connect with you. If there's something I've said that spoke out to you, I would just love to connect with you. You know, and just hear about what you're up to, how I can support you. And you know, I do offer creative leadership consulting and training, but I also just, you know, whether or not you want to be part of this book or the virtual stage, I would love to hear what you're up to and just connect, talk about music, about life, and the mystery of what is. You know, I'm up to, you know, creating a world that works for everybody. And I believe we all have something to contribute in this sandbox. But if you go to the website, you know, see what there stands out to you. And I just invite you to connect, and I look forward to meeting you and to seeing where we can collaborate and play together.
Yeah, this was Abram. This is it. Thank you so much. You know, this was absolutely incredible. One of I don't know. I stopped saying which one is my best show, because they all are. Every guest is really exceptionally irresistible. You're no different. I was privileged to be on your show, on your one day stage. It was
virtual stage. Yeah,
the virtual stage was incredible. You know, we're as often as we can, we get together. I will also invite you to our club on LinkedIn, our Exceptionally Irresistible Club. Many of the audience members that are here today are in that club as well. I will send you a invite there if you're not there already. But yeah, we could definitely connect, and I encourage all the audience to please connect with Abram. Do inquire about the book, because it's a brilliant idea. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge supporter. And so yeah, so this was today's show. Thank you again so much. Again, just a quick reminder that there will not be a live show, but there will be a surprise next week, so you don't want to miss it. We will not keep you hanging, but there's just not going to be an episode on the podcast in the Apple and the Spotify, and there will not be a Clubhouse next week, but there is a Clubhouse tomorrow, and we are looking forward to seeing you all. So again, thank you everybody for showing up. Thank you, Abram, for coming. And we will all see you when we are back. So take it easy, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a great night. Have a great week.
Bye.
Thank you.